Thank you for joining us. In this video clip, we will discuss how students can make sense of phenomena. So let's say that students in a classroom are presented with a phenomena about the changing appearance of the moon in the sky. So how can we support students as they make sense of this phenomena and construct an explanation that is supported by an argument for how the evidence they can collect during their investigation supports that explanation? So the NGSS is providing 3 tools that students can use. And the first tool are the cross-cutting concepts. And the way I'm thinking about cross-cutting concepts is a way of thinking about the world. So take a moment and think about which cross-cutting concept would you want your students to think about and use to make sense of this phenomenon. And if you like, you can pause the video now.
So when I look at this video clip on the screen, the first thing I notice is a repeating pattern in how the light is traveling and also sort of the wobble of the moon. So patterns is a cross-cutting concept that my mind jumps to right away. But I want to push myself a little farther beyond that. I'm also thinking about systems, because this light is not just happening because the moon is lighting up, right? There are other bodies involved. So there's our view from the Earth, there's the light coming from the sun. So I'm thinking about the system and its parts as another way I can try and figure out what's going on in this phenomenon.
Yeah, that's great. So we're thinking about patterns, we're thinking about the causes for those patterns. So that's cause and effect. And to figure out the cause and effect, we think about systems. And as we're thinking about systems, we may want to think about size and scale. We may want to think about the matter in the system, how the energy travels through the system. So this is how these cross-cutting concepts can be useful ways of thinking about phenomena in any science, not just in earth science. The second set of tools are the practices. So as we use the cross-cutting concept to guide our thinking, the practices actually gets us involved in the doing. And again, take a moment to think about what practices would you want your students to engage in to make sense of this phenomena. You can pause the video if you like.
So because I was using the cross-cutting concept of patterns as a lens to look through, one of the ways we look for patterns is through analyzing and interpreting data. So the practice that would connect to that cross-cutting concept is analyzing and interpreting data. And I was also talking about the system, the Earth, Moon, Sun system. One practice we can use to help us make sense of a system is to develop a model of that system. So again, if I want to connect those cross-cutting concepts to those practices, those would be 2 that I would start with. And then of course, we always want students to ask questions, right? So what is causing these patterns? You know, does this happen all the time? So those questions can guide us towards those investigations, can guide us towards gathering data, can guide us towards being able to develop our models.
So that's great. So our practices really help our students to engage in this by asking questions, planning an investigation, by developing a model, and then ultimately by constructing an explanation that's supported with an argument. The last set of tools are the core ideas. They're foundational science ideas that students can use as building blocks to make sense of phenomena. And again, think for a moment what science ideas students need to use to make sense of this particular phenomena. And if you want to pause the video, you can do that now.
So I'm thinking about some of the physical science core ideas around the way light travels, through space and how light energy moves. And then I'm also thinking about some earth science ideas that talk about the Earth, Sun, Moon system and the interactions within that system. So those are the sort of the 2 buckets of ideas I'm thinking about.
Yeah, that's great. So we have these ideas both from physical science as well as from earth science that we can use. And we mentioned it in one of our other video clips that phenomena often use core ideas from multiple science disciplines. So thank you for joining us for this video clip. And in the next video clip, we will talk a little bit more about how students, or how we can actually combine these three dimensions, the cross-cutting concepts, the practices, and the core ideas, and develop tasks that guide students towards explanations.
Bye, everyone.